Welcome back, everybody, into the Postgame Pod at Auburn Undercover. Nathan King, joined by Patrick Bingham. We are here in the entryway, I guess you would call, to the
hype room.
The hype room. That's what it is. This is the hype room.
We're hype.
For the women's locker room here inside of Neville Arena. Behind us is the logo that never was. That was it 2019, 2018, something like that.
Our friend Stephen
Leith proposed the change. And fun fact, I'm sure a lot of people know this. You can find this logo like various places on campus. Yep. I don't know why it's here in the women's locker room.
It's in the new business building.
Yeah, it's in the
Triple H.
Yes, it's in lots of different places. That might be a fun game to play at some point. Where can you find the new Auburn logo that never happened? Auburn 93, Wofford 62. Here inside of Neville Arena on Tuesday night, a back-to-back comfortable victory after that Monday night scare last week against Bethune-Cookman. Auburn has certainly looked the part and played very well in its last two games against Merrimack and now against Wofford, who is a little bit more of a recognizable opponent, I think, for people. You've seen them in the NCAA tournament over the last few years. And for that reason, Patrick, this is, to me, Merrimack offensively was just a horrendous watch. I mean, that was just not a good team. They're taking a lot of bad shots. I don't know how good Wofford is either, but to me, this felt like, it's only been 3 games, they've all been against low major teams. This felt like Auburn's most complete performance of the season on offense and defense, probably so far.
Yeah, and I mean, it doesn't help for a team like Wofford when you come in and have those 4 air balls all in the first half, I think. I mean, they weren't making threes early, but it did feel like Auburn's defense was starting to pick up and be better. Yes, it's a lesser competition. Yes, all 3 of these actual real games teams haven't had the big men really to challenge Auburn yet. Of course, we'll talk about that later. That's about to change. Yeah. But you could tell the defense is starting to come into its own. And it's just kind of the funny thing of I feel like this is my reoccurring thought so far is you're kind of just watching, and for me, being down on the floor, it's more vibes than real moment stats and everything. I'm man, the offense just doesn't feel like it's flowing a ton yet. And then you look up in their 40 something points at the half and get to 90 in the game. You're well, I think the offense is doing fine. They've scored 90 in all 3 of these games. And so I just think that's the thing. And I was talking to someone. I was they're leaving the starters in longer than you would think for a game like this. But I think it's just that continual. They need to get as much repetition and playing as much together as they can before the big test on Saturday.
Yeah, for sure. It was actually a different starting group in this game. They started Elijah Freeman at the 2 spot in this one, Keyshawn Hall at the 3, Sebastian Williams-Adams at the 4, and then Philip Jovich continues to start at the 5. We did not see any Keyshawn Murphy today. That did not come as any surprise. Stephen Pearl said he would only be used in an emergency. This did not constitute that, and you want him to be ready to go for Houston because that is big bad Houston front court that is going to rebound a lot, and as Stephen Pearl said after the game, they're going to punch you in the mouth. Speaking of punching in the mouth, that is what it feels like Keyshawn Hall does every time he has the basketball in his hands. Patrick, this was yet another example of, and we've seen this team now 5 times, the couple exhibitions in the preseason. This is the theme of this offense. It is going to be what this team is this season, Keyshawn Hall getting downhill. Keyshawn Hall will probably break some sort of single-season free throw record at Auburn, I would imagine. I mean, he is just his ability. I just don't know if we necessarily knew watching sporadic highlight tapes from UCF. It's you just don't get the full grasp of what type of player somebody is. I was okay, I know he's a good scorer. That is who he is. He is an extremely downhill player. He was really good tonight, 20 points, but to his credit, Elijah Freeman had some of that aggressiveness, downhillness, I guess you would say, on offense as well tonight. Yeah,
Elijah's best game of the season, but it kind of feels like with Keyshawn Hall, it's last year where, especially for me, making the graphics, it's okay, you can just about count on the Janai Broome double-double stat. Yep. And it's for this one, you can just about count on the Keyshawn Hall 20-point stat. Yes, it's 3 games into the season. We've had the exhibitions as well, but it's just that kind of feels like you're consistent, but it's okay, past him, what's that next step? Who else is going to be able? And of course, Elijah was great tonight. Tahad, the shooting hasn't been as great. I kind of feel yes, it is a slump statistically. I kind of feel it's we wait and see how he does against Houston before.
Absolutely.
In my opinion, it's if he goes and doesn't shoot well against Houston, it's okay, this is a slump. This is something we probably need to address. Whereas now it's just we are still kind of getting the season going. There's been different starting lineups. It's kind of all gearing up for Sunday.
Well, and Stephen Pearl even said this week in the lead up to this game, they have not put in all their actions yet. And I thought that was the first time he really made reference to the fact that like a football team will do as well with a playbook. It's like they're not going to put everything out right away. They're going to save some of their better sets. You don't think Mike Burgermaster's got some stuff up his sleeves? Obviously, a phenomenal offensive play caller and deviser when it comes to Auburn's scheme on that side. But I mean, it is worth noting if Todd Pettiford wasn't first team preseason All-SEC, wasn't he was the returning guy on this team, there wouldn't be so much of an expectation. But I do think it's a slump. It's only 3 games right now, but he goes 4 of 17 from the floor today, and it is the same sort of looks he was getting last year. I just don't think they're falling for him right now. But I thought Kevin Overton, postgame, the veteran guard transfer from Texas Tech, who had a good night tonight as well, 13 points for him. I thought he sort of had a wise response to that after the game, talking about Tahad. He said, look, he is becoming the only, the lead point guard on this team. And really, when you think about when Caden Magwood's on the floor, it's just not the same. He's not that alpha dog lead point guard. It's just a young guy who's trying to get his feet wet. Todd Pettiford is still trying to figure out what it looks like when he doesn't have a bunch of other proven scorers around him like he did last season. And so Stephen Pearl said after the game, he's like, I don't care about his offense. Like, I don't care what numbers he's shooting. Is he gonna sit down and defend? And I thought that was really interesting because during the game, I was looking back. I was like, what did Todd do against Houston last year? I forgot 5 3-pointers in that game.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
In this second or third game as
he's exploded. But Stephen Pearl wants to point to his defense and said his defense was the reason Auburn won that game against Houston. And so, no surprise with Stephen, everything's going to go back to defense. But we will see, moving forward, if Tahad's able to break out of the slump. But as you mentioned, Auburn keeps scoring 90 points even with him.
And I even think to a greater point, I felt like that was kind of a theme of the post-game press conference as a cart rolls behind us. Stephen kept talking about it's almost like he knows, and maybe again it's his background of defense of he'll worry about the offense later, but it's he knows the shots are going to fall for guys. It's that, and he had the coachable moment where he called that timeout, I guess in the second half, of can you do the little things? Can you keep doing all the things that give you a chance where if you make shots, you could go beat a Houston or something like that. But for Houston, such a defensive team, if you can't do all the little things correct, that will stack up. It will create. I mean, he was talking about the rebounding. If you keep giving them offensive rebounds, which they're going to get some, obviously, that just compiles, and that's how they build a big lead and game over.
That's a great point. Yeah, I mean, it's when you hit a bunch of 3-point shots, are you going to probably beat somebody? Exactly. Yes. And it's Stephen Pearl knows that, and again, this was another example of, and we've seen this in every post game so far, and even in his entire time leading this team, Stephen Pearl is not going to be the type who is going to be satisfied with anything this team has done. I mean, they win by however many, 31 points tonight when they called that timeout that you were referencing. They're up by 28 in the second half, but a couple bad rotations on defense leads to a wide open 3-point shooter. And he was really getting after his guys at that point. And so, you're exactly right. As we kind of shift, and look, we'll talk about Houston later this week. We'll talk to Stephen and players again on Friday. Of course, that game is on Sunday, 2 p.m. Central Time on ESPN. I hope you can watch the game because there's just obviously that's a nightmare right now. But Patrick, that is now the number 1 team in the country with the AP poll this week,
and they're playing. I think now, granted, the poll's going to change, but I think Michigan's in the top 10, Purdue's number 2, Alabama's in the top 10. It's 7 or 6 of the whole 10.
We're used to it. We're used to it now at this point. I mean, Auburn now, the schedule the last 2 years has been a ton of these types of teams. But when you look at rebounding again tonight for Auburn, plus 21, they're plus 31, right, against Merrimack. And so these teams are very small.
Yes.
Smaller, right? This team had better size than Merrimack, but it's these teams are smaller. These teams are not as athletic as a Houston, who everybody has come to know at this point about that program. It's all about physicality. It's all about rebounding. It's all about defense. But it's kind of like in football when you take care of business against an FCS team or a group of 5 team. You just kind of do what you're supposed to do. It's it'd be more concerning if you didn't do that. You kind of just go out there and take care of business. And so this team knows, though, Patrick. I mean, it's those little things like you mentioned. It's that defensive intensity. It's that rebounding that they have to do against Houston to give themselves a chance to win. But I think like you said, on the upside of it, Auburn's offense knows they can click, but it is going to be a clash in this game between a team that scored 90 points every single game so far, including the exhibitions, and a Houston defense that we know is just absolutely locked down.
Yeah, it is such a big difference from what we've seen these last 2 games. Yeah. It's kind of bizarre to go start with the number 1 team in Birmingham, but I mean, that's the test ahead of them. And again, I think it's can they do the little things enough to keep the game. Like, not that they're playing from behind initially,
Sure.
but it's like, can you keep it close
Well, they'll be
long
underdog.
enough?
Absolutely.
You know how like when Auburn would play Alabama in the great Nick Saban years at home, it's like, can you get them to the fourth quarter and then you have a chance to win? And it's like, if you can do all the little things and get it close to the end, then can you go make shots and win?
Can
But
Tom
if-
Pettiford hit those shots? Like,
Yeah, but if you can't make, if you can't get the defensive rebounds early, those points start to add up, and then it's a 20-point game.
Yeah, absolutely. All of a sudden it goes from a 12-point game, 14-point game. I think you saw that really in when they played Houston a few years ago in Birmingham in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
I know Auburn shot poorly on offense in that game, but Houston just kind of started to roll its system. And even when Auburn was up by 10 at halftime, it was like, they've got to change a lot about the way they're playing in order for this game to turn differently. And they didn't, and Houston kind of rolled in the second half. And then, of course, last season, huge win. I think Houston was ranked number 4 in the country when Auburn wasn't technically a road game, but I think for the team sheet, I think for the tournament resume, it ended up actually being a road game because the committee looked at it, they were like, it was in Houston, that's stupid, make it a road game. And so this one, for all intents and purposes, if they're going to apply that logic, this should be a road game for Houston. It should be a tremendous crowd. If the Purdue game last year was any indication, that crowd was unbelievable, one of the loudest crowds.
100% an Auburn crowd.
Absolutely, one of the loudest crowds I've ever heard for an Auburn game, and so that'll be a huge one on Sunday, as we referenced, kind of an attempted cold open that may or may not make the show. These guys are super excited about this game, and I thought it was telling that it wasn't in a way for either of these guys, Elijah Freeman and Kevin Overton, after the game of like overlooking any opponent. It was just like, no, they've been excited to play this game against Houston. Elijah Freeman said he's been having dreams about playing the game, which is
lucid
dreams, which we were trying to rack our brains for the difference between that and sleepwalking. I don't necessarily know. And then Kevin Overton has played Houston before from the Big 12. He said he lost to them last year, so he's looking to get them back, and should be a big one on Sunday, Patrick.
Yeah, I mean, this is the big start of the non-conference that you set up. This was kind of get the little things out of the way, new head coach, whatever. Now it's like the test is on between Houston.
Back.
Yeah, there's no going back now. Now you have Houston and the Las Vegas teams, and at Arizona, that's the one I didn't mention earlier, and then
Purdue and Indianapolis.
Purdue. So and then SEC play, which should be hard again.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of the reason too that Stephen Pearl is so bent on making sure every little nook and cranny gets fixed here in these early games, because he knows as well as anybody, after being on this Auburn staff when they play these types of schedules, I mean, it's like when you get into those games, there's no time for learning in the middle of the game because you're fighting for your life against a top 10 team. So Auburn wins tonight 93-62?
Yep.
I dropped my stat sheet. 93-62 over Wofford. The Tigers are 3-0, and as we mentioned repeatedly, are getting set to play number 1 Houston in Birmingham on Sunday. We will continue to have coverage throughout the week leading up to that game. Obviously, a bunch of coaching search stuff going on over at auburnundercover.com for football. If you haven't read Jason Caldwell's Q&A with Auburn Athletic Director John Cohen, go check that out. I don't know if Patrick rolled the 60% promo thing at the beginning of this video.
I can, yeah. I'll do that. You'll have heard it by now.
Well, you can. We can do our own. 60% off still at auburnundercover.com. It's going to be a fun bye week, continuing to, I don't know, just basically talk about coaching candidates every single day, which I hear. Never mind. I'm not going to go there. It made it seem like I was going to say like things I'm hearing about the coach, but I was just going to make a dumb joke based on something earlier. Based on John's overall. Anyway, he might be in the mix. Who's to say? For Patrick Bingham, I'm Nathan King. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the Postgame Pod, and keep it locked at auburnundercover.com. See you over there.
Have you had any lucid dreams lately?
Okay, that's not what we're gonna do. I would like to think that, I would like to think he literally was getting up and going and playing basketball. Like that's what a lucid dream is, right? It's where you actually.
I had to look it up.
No, that's not a lucid dream. That's sleepwalking. A lucid dream is where you
think it's real in the moment.
I don't know. Now I'm questioning.
Do you not think that for all dreams?
Yeah.
Auburn 93, Wofford 62.
There's no way that could be our intro. There's no way.